I was just asked about, I think this morning on World Service, about the Leveson Committee. And that goes back to this. There is a question about whether there is influence by the Murdoch organization on your government. Is there, well, I wouldn't call it influence. Does your landlord influence you or collect the rent? You know, it's okay. But they, you know, what they don't seem to bother looking at is listening to the audio tapes. Okay. Back in as soon as the Labor government came into power, I'd, by the way, been of all weird things, I was an advisor to Tony Blair, believe it or not. That's in another life and another guise. It allowed me to get inside. And I was also something else. I was a lobbyist for Enron Corporation. I wasn't really a lobbyist for Enron Corporation, but I was able to create a wonderful false front with an extraordinary amount of money, offices at the Tower Hotel, backups by some very big names, and on the U.S. side, Her Majesty's own lawyer, etc. to go along with this. We set up so then I basically had a parade of Blair's new Labor cabinet ministers and their lobbyist buddies who were telling me what I could get for my money. Now, I don't entrap people. I don't say, here's $100 grand, what can you get me? Because a lot of people will be tempted. If you want to tempt me, go right ahead. That's entrapment. But I did say, what have you done? Tell me the deals you've made. And I got a lot of bullshit. But we were able, you know, you could see the effects because the minimum wage that Blair had promised was spam. But they all took credit for that, the lobbyists. I said, anyone could take credit. What I want, I'm working for, you know, the guys I work for are in Texas. They just started wearing shoes 2 years ago. They don't know all this bullshit. They want to see hard evidence. And sure enough, these guys would send me memos, information showing that they passed U.S. from the Treasury, from Gordon Brown, passing information to U.S. banks about what would be in the budget. That's worth millions and millions to traders. Okay. And I also got this. Ben Lucas is a guy who was the lawyer, the lobbyist for Murdoch. He's Murdoch's lobbyist. And he was telling me the deals that he cut, including, remember, there's all this question about antitrust law. In fact, it started back in 1997, as soon as Blair came in which they were told that if if their tabloids, this is Murdoch's tabs, toned down criticism of the new antitrust legislation, the law's final language would reflect the government's appreciation. They said, but there was one problem, that the message to Muslim journalists was not, said Lucas, quote, an easy one in their culture. But it was done. So Blair got the support of Murdoch in return. And the way he put it was, I looked at him and he said, he wanted to explain to me why I should work. And he says, this is a quote, this government likes to do deals. There's the tapes. The entire tape, by the way, is vulturespicnic.org. One of many, many tapes from these guys, okay? So there ain't no question. But then, of course, they weren't happy when I began releasing some of these tapes in The Observer and on Newsnight. So they decided that it's best to, since they didn't like my message, that they better shoot the messenger, or in my case, try to get the messenger laid, which is okay. I like that book. You really should read it. Chapter 8, we figured out who murdered Jake. This is a murder. Well, one witness is figured out who murdered Jake. Blackpool, England, 1998. Now, if this were a movie, you would hear the audience screaming, "Don't take the key, don't go up those stairs." The reporter part of my brain was screaming, "This smells bad." But I couldn't hear a thing because while I was out to get the story, the memory of Miss Jamaica's hand in my pocket had drained the blood from my cerebellum. So I took the key she left for me at the desk with the message to meet her up in her room. I went up the stairs, knock, knock, no answer. "Don't open that door." I opened the door. "For God's sake, don't take off your clothes." I took off my clothes. "I need to change my shirt and pants for the New Statesman party. Though if she walked in, we could start the party early." The door opened. I smiled at the desk clerk and Miss Jamaica's husband, which would have been okay, except that then followed by the mirror photographers and reporter. So that led to the front page and the next 6-page story. "Sex Scandal Rocks Labor Conference." That was, I never use her name because even notoriety in this world is of value, so I'll give nothing. But no, it was I was trying to get a story from Peter Mandelson's protege, who was at that time running against Liz Davies, actually, for the Labour Party Central Committee, whatever it is. And I thought it would just be, because she'd always a very comely young thing, and it'd be easier to have the discussion if our clothes weren't in the way. And she agreed, but then I actually didn't. I was actually stunned that she was married. She wasn't stunned that I was married because she'd met my wife, ex-wife. At any rate, but what was I investigating? I wasn't investigating what was then called lobby. I wasn't investigating lobbyists. They're just the fucking messengers. Lobbyists don't do shit. They're just carrying messages. They might as well use mailman or carrier pigeons. Okay? This is a lockup between corporate media banking power and the government. It's messages being sent. It's directives being sent to those who have to carry out the orders. And you just have these messenger boys who like to swan around and call themselves lobbyists. Okay? But what were the messages being carried? We heard about the antitrust message from Murdoch. Okay? But the message was also being carried by big U.S. power in industry, by stupid things like Tesco got a car park tax exemption. That's small stuff that just covers their fees. But one of the issues, and you'll see about the Jake Horton, the company, Southern Company, which is moving big into Britain and wanted to get inside. Southern did buy up Southwest Electricity Board. And I've been investigating Southern at the time because you'll see a list of $90 million in spare parts from a nuclear plant. What was interesting about the list was that those parts didn't exist, but they were charged to the public. Now, a guy named Jake Horton, the company's senior vice president, wanted to rat about it. Okay, it was in his briefcase. So Jake, in his briefcase, had taken the company plane. His idea was maybe he would stop in on the state attorney general in Alabama. 12 minutes after he took off, boom, Jake and the plane are all over the Deep South. Now, somehow the list of parts still fluttered down into my hands. But I was interested. I thought that Britain should be interested in who was buying up your electricity system. Now, and Blair was happy to make hay about that while he was in opposition and invited them back in as soon as he was elected. That's not a surprise. Now, there's a lot of stories in this book about how it really works. We talk about the 99% and the 1%. I want you to have their names when we talk about the 1%. They're not the rich. They're not the 1%. I want you to meet the Vulture and Iceman Simmons. I want you to meet Goldfinger. The first chapter is called Goldfinger. There really is a Goldfinger. Okay. Except that the real one makes the cinema one look like Santa Claus. Okay. We follow Goldfinger. All right. Vultures Picnic. He's the first vulture we go after. These are the new 1% of the 1%. Okay. Very important to know who these guys are, and especially right now. We have a celebrity here, Charlie Shar Murray, and Anna Chen, who you may know as Madame Meow from Madame Meow Ball. We were just talking, and I was explaining that there's a new split in the capitalist order. Very, very important to understand it and get the names of the players and the names of the teams and the color of their shirts. Okay. On one side are the old establishment banks. The kind of establishment banks like Goldman Sachs. Now Goldman Sachs, as you know, is a sucker squid, a giant sucker squid. And that's good because they only eat these parasites and bloodsuckers when things are alive. On the other side are the vultures that feast when things die. Okay, and the things are us, our economists. Now, Goldfinger's case, for example, first got into the issue of vulture financiers because one of the things that they like to do is go after weak and dying nations. Greece, Zambia, Peru, Spain, and next year, England. Okay? Now, by the way, the Uber Vulture, Paul the Vulture saying, these guys, by the way, you need to know this because they've each taken sides in the U.S. presidential election. The vultures of the book are the main financiers behind the Romney campaign. Okay? And the establishment capital is still hanging out with Obama. So there's a huge battle going on right now. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But you need to know who these guys are. So in the case of Goldfinger, he pays $3 million to the president of Zambia. This is shortening it. And who then gives him the right to collect on an old debt from Romania that Romania had written off. But he says, we'll pay it anyway because he got the $3 million. We follow the president of Zambia to his bank, of course, which is in Geneva, Switzerland. Like you would if you went take your cash to a bank. He goes shopping. The president of Zambia at a boutique spends $1 million cash. We follow him. It's not so easy to do investigations in Switzerland. It's how you end up in prison. Okay? There's a reason why you stick your money in a Swiss bank. One thing is it's very hard to film or report there, or record anything without permission. So we asked, so Ms. Badpenny, I can't do, she speaks the local dialects, and says to the clerk, she looks like a film star, TV star, and we got our camera there. We are doing a television program, Shopping with the Rich and Famous. Anyone rich and famous come in here to shop? Yeah, the president of Zambia. Oh, really? What did he buy? They showed us. Like, he had elevator shoots with his short dictator, like 90 leisure suits, which I didn't even think were being made anymore, a diamond-studded tie. We got all the stuff. By the way, I put that on Newsnight with the music Diamonds Are Forever. And then, of course, Goldfinger, because the picture. And I had actually staked out Goldfinger's house. I stake out these guys. If they don't talk to me or if they don't fall into one of my fronts, by the way, my rules, the rules of BBC and Guardian, I have to actually make a straightforward, can we meet? Now that I've got the evidence, I want to talk to you about these payments. If they say no, then we have the right to stake them out, which I do. So we confronted this guy. So we throw it on TV the next day. Parliament, all parties pass a law saying vulture financiers may not use British courts, which are their favorites. Because in British courts, these inquisitors, Whigs here, they don't give a shit if they're cutting off the arms of Zambian babies. Doesn't mean anything, right? So they love British courts, but it was closed off to them throughout the United Kingdom, throughout the Commonwealth. except they left out 4 words, and the Channel Islands. If you're wondering why you had 3 days ago the Guardian headline that Jersey wants to go independent, is because there's pressure on them to shut off the last vulture roost within the United Kingdom. Now I want to know how those 4 words are left out. Right? It's cheap ink. I want to investigate that. But I know the effect is that vultures then use that as using Jersey as a base to go after the Congo. And I went up the Congo River to, well, it's a whole other story. I'm not going to tell you everything in the book or everything since. But also go to vulturespicnic.org, get updates. Go to gregpalast.com.